Frontman Chester Bennington of Linkin Park committed suicide in 2017. Even though his history of mental health issues, such as depression, was widely known, many people were nonetheless shocked by his death because he had seemed cheerful in the days prior to taking his own life. Bennington had been on vacation with his family just before he passed away when he went back home to shoot a commercial. The night before his death, according to his wife Talinda, he was at his best. Nonetheless, Bennington had reason to be troubled. The musician had recently attended Chris Cornell of the band Soundgarden's funeral, which had taken place just 2 months before. In 2017, Bennington said to Metal Hammer, "I don't know if you've ever met someone, and it just feels like you've known them forever." And that was really the case between our families. As reported by Rolling Stone, Bennington had also lived with depression for many years, a black cloud he referred to as dark passenger. On July 20, Bennington's body was discovered at his California home after he had hanged himself with his own belt. The autopsy report released by TMZ provides some heartbreaking details about the rock star's final hours, indicating that he was using alcohol. There was alcohol in his system. The housekeeper of Chester Bennington discovered him hanging by a belt from a bedroom doorframe around 8:50 on July 20, according to the autopsy report that was released in December 2017. The belt was looped around the decedent's neck, then through the buckle, before extending up towards the doorframe, the report reads. The buckle was at the posterior of the decedent's neck. The housekeeper, who left Bennington by himself the previous evening at 10:30 p.m., was the last person to see him alive. Before she departed, she did not remember the singer acting strangely in any manner. Investigators found no note near the body, though they did find a handwritten apparent biography. Additionally, they discovered fragments of Bennington's fingernails on the bedside table and under his iPhone. His wife Talinda reportedly admitted to police that he had a habit of plucking his fingernails when he was stressed out. Authorities did discover evidence that Bennington had been drinking that night, but there was no sign of criminal activity at the spot. The singer was found near an empty bottle of Stella Artois, a less than half-full pint glass of Corona, 2 bottle caps, and a bottle of prescription medication. The toxicology report also says there was a tiny trace of alcohol in his system. Although a blood test seemed to confirm that the Linkin Park singer had also taken MDMA, further testing indicated he was not on any drugs. The autopsy report notes that Bennington had a history of alcohol misuse, suicidal ideation, and past suicide attempts. It says his wife Talinda told authorities he threatened to kill himself in 2006 while intoxicated, and TMZ says there was another 2016 attempt mentioned in the report before it was redacted. Bennington's history of alcoholism and depression. Despite the low amount of ethanol discovered in Chester Bennington's system, the study provides some insight into his problems with alcohol abuse. In interviews, Bennington was open about his drinking and drug usage, and he usually blamed his addiction problems on the sexual abuse he endured as a child. Much of his music was inspired by his life, and he once told Noise Creep that the Linkin Park "It Crawling" was specifically about his substance use disorder. It's probably the most literal song lyrically I'd ever written for Linkin Park, and that's about feeling like I had no control over myself in terms of drugs and alcohol, he said. By 2006, Bennington had checked himself into rehab out of necessity, a decision he discussed with Louder Sound. In 2006, I had a choice between stopping drinking or dying, he said. Nonetheless, his alcohol use issues continued. According to Rolling Stone, although rehab did lead to a long period of sobriety for Bennington, his friends reported that he had relapsed in the 12 months prior to his death, blacking out after 3 days of heavy drinking in August 2016. The month before he died, his friend and fellow guitarist Ryan Shuck told reporters that Bennington had confided in him he was roughly 6 months sober, but that he was still facing an hour-by-hour battle.